You ever notice how easy it is for someone else's words to change your whole day? One comment, one look, one tone of voice, and suddenly your peace is gone. But what if I told you, it's not them stealing it, it's you handing it over? Because when you train yourself to be unbothered, you stop reacting to everything that doesn't deserve a reaction. You rise above what was designed to pull you down. See, there's a difference between ignoring and mastering peace. Ignoring says, I don't care. Mastering peace says, I've chosen where to place my energy. You don't need to clap back, prove a point, or match someone's chaos. Sometimes silence is the loudest response. Sometimes walking away is the strongest move. Being unbothered doesn't mean you've become cold. It means you've become wise. It means you finally understand that not every battle is worth fighting, not every opinion is worth your attention, and not every invitation to drama deserves your RSVP. When you start living from purpose instead of emotion, you stop being a puppet to people's behavior. You take your power back quietly, calmly, confidently. Detachment is not about becoming numb. It's about becoming grounded. It's looking at what's happening around you and saying, I see it, I understand it, but I choose peace. That choice, repeated daily, builds something sacred inside of you, resilience. The kind of resilience that no insult can shake, no gossip can break, and no circumstance can control. The truth is, most people react because they need to feel seen, but the person who's already rooted in purpose doesn't need the approval of noise. They know who they are. And when you know who you are, you stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop defending yourself in battles that don't grow you. You stop seeking peace in the storm, and you become the calm in it. Every time you choose not to react, you strengthen your spirit. Every time you pause instead of panic, you deepen your wisdom. That's how you train yourself to be unbothered, not by avoiding emotion, but by mastering it. Because maturity is not how loud you can respond, it's how still you can remain. There's a kind of power that comes from being unshakable, from knowing that your worth doesn't rise or fall with people's opinions, that your peace doesn't depend on circumstances aligning, but on your spirit aligning with truth. You realize that peace is not passive, it's powerful, and protecting it is your responsibility. When you reach that place, you no longer react, you respond. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer absorb the energy around you, you set it. That's what it means to be unbothered, to live with such conviction, clarity, and calm that the world's noise can't penetrate your purpose. You don't have to win every argument. You don't have to explain every decision. You just have to stay anchored. Because the storm only destroys what isn't rooted. And the one who's trained to be unbothered is already unshakable. Peace isn't found in the absence of noise. It's found in the ability to stay calm within it. Life will never quiet down for you. The world doesn't pause when you're overwhelmed. It doesn't stop being loud just because you crave silence. The truth is, peace isn't something that waits for the right conditions. It's something you create in the middle of chaos. The greatest test of inner strength is not how well you can handle life when it's peaceful, but how deeply you can remain centered when everything feels like it's falling apart. Being calm in chaos is not about pretending things don't affect you. It's about deciding how you let them affect you. When you've trained your spirit to find stillness within the storm, you start to see that noise is inevitable, but disturbance is optional. The noise outside can only reach you if there's chaos inside. So the work isn't about controlling what's around you. It's about mastering what's within you. Every moment that challenges your peace is an invitation to rise above reaction and move into awareness. Peace begins when you stop letting external events dictate your internal world. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a friend disappoints you, a plan fails. Those moments reveal where your peace truly stands. The calm person doesn't deny frustration. They just don't let it take the lead. They breathe. They ground themselves. They remember that storms pass, but self-control endures. The calm you practice in small things builds the strength you need for the big ones. Inner calm doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender, from understanding that you can't stop the waves, but you can learn how to surf. You stop fighting everything that doesn't go your way, and instead you start flowing with grace. You stop trying to fix what's not yours to fix and begin to focus on maintaining your own energy. That's where real peace is born, in the quiet decision that no matter how loud life gets, you won't let it drown your focus or your faith. When you realize that peace isn't about escaping the noise, but standing still inside it, you unlock a level of strength that nothing external can shake. You become the calm within the chaos, the still point in a spinning world, and that's where true power lies. Being unbothered doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've learned what's worth caring about. There's a big difference between indifference and intentional focus. Indifference is rooted in avoidance. It's a defense mechanism that says, I'll pretend not to care so I don't get hurt. But true emotional maturity doesn't hide from feelings. It prioritizes them. It knows that not everything deserves access to your attention, not every situation deserves a reaction, and not every person deserves a seat at the table of your peace. When you understand that, you stop wasting energy on things that have no real weight in your purpose. To be unbothered is to recognize the difference between what matters and what distracts. It's to know that your emotions are valuable resources, not tools for anyone else to control. Every moment you spend being offended, proving your point, or trying to change someone's opinion is energy that could be invested in something far more sacred: your growth, your clarity, your calling. Caring selectively is not selfishness, it's stewardship. You're learning to protect your peace the same way you'd protect something priceless, because it is. The unbothered person doesn't stop caring about people. They just stop letting people's behavior determine their peace. They understand that you can love deeply and still detach gracefully. You can have compassion without losing composure. You can show empathy without absorbing energy that doesn't belong to. This is what emotional wisdom looks like. It's the balance between heart and boundaries. It's the maturity to say, I care about this person, but I won't let their chaos become mine. The truth is, the more you grow, the more selective your caring becomes. You stop chasing approval and start valuing alignment. You stop caring about being understood and start caring about being grounded. When you know what deserves your care, you stop pouring into empty spaces. You start investing where peace lives, where growth happens, where purpose flows. So when you train yourself to be unbothered, you're not hardening your heart, you're refining your focus. You're saying yes to what nurtures your spirit and no to what drains it. That's not apathy, that's alignment. And when you master that, you don't lose your sensitivity. You just stop giving it away to everything that doesn't deserve it. Detachment isn't distance, it's discipline. It's not about running away from people, emotions, or experiences. It's about standing in the middle of them without losing yourself. True detachment is a skill of the soul, the quiet art of being deeply present, but not easily shaken. It's the ability to love without clinging, to help without controlling, and to give without expecting. It's emotional clarity dressed as calm confidence. When you practice detachment, you're not pushing life away. You're learning how to hold it with open hands instead of clenched fists. Most people think detachment means you stop feeling, but it's the opposite. It means you start feeling everything more consciously. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding intentionally. You no longer let emotions drive you off course. You let them inform you, not define you. That's discipline. It takes strength to care deeply and still choose peace over panic. It takes control to witness chaos and not let it invade your spirit. Detachment is not about indifference. It's about mastery. You're no longer a prisoner of how things unfold because your stability doesn't depend on them. This kind of discipline creates inner freedom. You stop needing constant validation because your worth isn't tied to how others treat you. You stop chasing outcomes because you've learned that peace doesn't come from what you can control. It comes from what you can release. Detachment allows you to live from purpose rather than pressure, to act from wisdom rather than emotion. When you're detached, you can see clearly, you can love freely, you can walk away peacefully. People who misunderstand detachment often mistake your calm for coldness. They think your silence means you don't care. But in truth, it means you've learned the value of your energy. You understand that every reaction has a cost, and you choose to spend wisely. You no longer engage every argument, defend every decision, or fix every broken situation. You know that your peace is not up for negotiation. So detachment is not about withdrawing from life. It's about participating in it with a clear heart. It's the discipline to stay grounded no matter what happens. It's emotional maturity in motion. And when you master that, you stop being tossed around by every storm. You become the calm that steadies it. Emotional control is not suppression. It's sacred awareness. It's the ability to feel everything fully without letting those feelings take command of your direction. Suppression locks emotions away, pretending they don't exist, while control invites them and understands them and then chooses how to respond. When you suppress emotions, they eventually leak out in unhealthy ways. Anger disguised as sarcasm, sadness masked as indifference, fear hidden behind pride. But when you practice awareness, you give your emotions space to breathe, to be acknowledged, and then released with wisdom instead of reaction. Emotional control isn't about denying what you feel. It's about deciding who's in charge. You can be angry without being destructive, hurt without being bitter, afraid without being paralyzed. Every emotion is a signal, not a sentence. It comes to teach you, not to imprison you. The moment you stop fighting your emotions and start listening to them, you begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. That's where peace is found, not in pretending to be unshaken, but in learning how to stay steady through the shaking. Awareness means pausing long enough to ask, what is this feeling trying to tell me? Maybe your anger is pointing toward a boundary that's been crossed. Maybe your sadness is revealing something that needs healing. Maybe your frustration is showing you where you've been giving too much of yourself away. When you become aware instead of reactive, you gain control not by force, but by understanding. You don't silence your emotions, you shepherd them. You lead them with wisdom instead of letting them lead you with impulse. This kind of control isn't cold, it's compassionate. It's the quiet strength of someone who feels deeply but moves carefully. It's the power to stand in the fire of emotion and not be consumed by it. The person who masters emotional awareness doesn't live numb. They live free. They can speak with calm even when provoked, listen without judgment even when misunderstood, and choose grace even when it's not deserved. So emotional control is not a wall, it's a doorway to maturity. It's sacred because it honors the truth of what you feel without letting it rule your life. When you reach that level of awareness, your emotions stop being your weakness and start becoming your wisdom. People's opinions lose their power when you stop giving them permission to shape your identity. The truth is, everyone has something to say about who you are, what you do, or how you live, but their voice only carries weight if you hand them the microphone. Most of us spend years trying to please people who were never meant to understand us. We bend, shrink, and conform just to avoid judgment, forgetting that opinions are reflections of others' perspectives, not definitions of our worth. The moment you stop seeking validation from outside yourself is the moment you begin to walk in real freedom. When your identity depends on approval, you become easy to control. One compliment lifts you, one criticism crushes you. Your peace becomes a hostage to people's moods and misunderstandings. But when you know who you are, you stop chasing confirmation. You stop needing applause to feel valuable. You stop defending yourself to those who are determined not to see your truth. Because deep confidence doesn't shout, it simply stands. It's rooted, grounded, unshaken by opinions that come and go like the wind. Everyone sees you through the lens of their own experience, their own fears, their own limitations. That means most opinions are projections, not truths. So why build your life around noise that was never meant to define you? When you stop reacting to every opinion, you reclaim your energy. You realize that silence can be stronger than explanation, that peace can be louder than argument. That walking away can be wiser than convincing someone who's not ready to understand. The most powerful people are not those without critics. They're those who no longer depend on approval to move forward. They live with purpose, not permission. They're led by conviction, not consensus. And when you reach that place, people's words no longer trigger you. They teach you. You listen without absorbing, observe without attaching, and respond without reacting. Your worth was never meant to be negotiated by opinion. It was defined long before anyone had a chance to name it. When you finally understand that, you stop performing and start becoming, you stop chasing acceptance and start walking in authenticity. And that's when opinions lose their grip, because you've stopped giving them power over who you already know you are. True strength is quiet. It doesn't need to prove, defend, or explain itself. Real power doesn't shout to be recognized. It stands still in its own certainty. The loudest person in the room is often the most unsettled, the ones still trying to convince themselves of who they are. But genuine strength, the kind that's built through endurance and wisdom, moves differently. It doesn't react to everything that challenges it. It doesn't chase validation or compete for attention. It simply knows, and that knowing is enough. Quiet strength comes from the kind of peace that can only be formed through struggle. It's the calm that follows storms you thought would break you. It's the stability that grows when you've been tested, misunderstood, and underestimated, and still didn't lose yourself. That's the beauty of inner power. It's forged in silence, refined in patience, and revealed in how you carry yourself when no one's watching. You don't have to announce growth when your presence speaks it. The person who's truly strong doesn't argue to prove their point. They live in alignment with truth, and truth eventually reveals itself. They don't chase recognition because they understand that validation from others can't sustain peace within. Their confidence doesn't come from being right. It comes from being grounded. That's why quiet strength feels so unshakable. It's not dependent on the noise around it. It's rooted in values, not voices. Quiet strength also means having the wisdom to choose peace over pride, to let some things go, not because you're weak, but because you know they're not worth your energy. It takes more power to stay calm than to react. It takes more courage to walk away than to fight every battle. The strong don't need to prove themselves because they've already proven themselves to the one person who matters most, themselves. In a world obsessed with loudness and display, stillness becomes revolutionary. Silence becomes strength. The calm person carries a presence that unsettles chaos, not because they're detached, but because they're centered. They understand that strength isn't measured by how forcefully you speak, but by how deeply you stand in truth. And when you've reached that level of quiet strength, you don't need to announce who you are. The peace you carry does it for you. The person who can't be provoked is the person who's already found purpose. When you live with direction, distractions lose their power. People can throw words, opinions, and judgments your way, but when you know where you're going, you stop stopping for every voice that tries to pull you off the path. Purpose gives you focus, and focus breeds composure. You no longer waste energy reacting to everything because you understand not everything deserves your attention. The moment you're grounded in purpose, you become untouchable, not because the world stops testing you, but because you stop being moved by things that don't align with your mission. Being unprovoked doesn't mean you don't feel emotion. It means you've learned to master it. You understand that anger, pride, or defensiveness are distractions dressed as power. When you know why you're here and what you're building, petty things lose their grip. Someone can insult you, misunderstand you, or even betray you, but you won't lose your peace because your identity isn't rooted in their opinion. You don't have time to fight battles that don't build anything. You've outgrown the need to prove your worth through reaction. Purpose gives you perspective. It teaches you that not everything is an attack. Sometimes it's a test. Sometimes the provocation is there to reveal how much you've grown, how much control you've gained, and how little validation you now need. When you know your calling, you stop defending yourself to people who aren't part of it. You stop explaining yourself to minds not meant to understand you. You start walking with the quiet confidence of someone who knows where they belong. Unprovoked people are powerful because they're free. Free from the emotional chains of comparison, free from the noise of criticism, free from the endless cycle of trying to be understood. They no longer let temporary emotions destroy permanent peace. Their calm presence speaks louder than any reaction ever could. When you've found your purpose, peace becomes your posture. You stop letting small things shake big visions. You start choosing silence over argument, clarity over chaos, and direction over distraction. Because when your life is led by purpose, provocation becomes powerless. You no longer need to react. You're too focused on becoming who you were meant to be. Your peace is your most valuable possession. Don't trade it for temporary validation. Peace isn't just a feeling. It's a state of alignment with who you truly are. It's that deep, quiet knowing that you are enough even when no one claps for you. But the moment you start chasing approval, you begin to give pieces of that peace away. Every time you compromise your truth to be liked, every time you explain yourself to gain acceptance, every time you let someone's opinion determine your worth, you're making an expensive trade. You're giving away something eternal for something that never lasts. Validation is addictive because it feels like affirmation, but it's a fragile kind of comfort. It fades as soon as it arrives, and the moment it does, you start searching for it again. The person who lives for approval will always be restless because their peace depends on other people's moods. But when you value your peace above popularity, you start to move differently. You stop performing. You stop defending. You stop explaining your path to those who can't see your purpose. You realize that silence can protect you in ways words never will. Protecting your peace means setting boundaries that honor your growth. It means saying no even when it disappoints someone, walking away even when you're misunderstood, and choosing calm over chaos every single time. You start to understand that not everything deserves a reaction, not everyone deserves access, and not every opportunity is worth your energy. Peace requires discernment. It's not passive, it's protective. It demands that you choose long-term clarity over short-term comfort. When you start valuing peace, you'll notice something powerful. Life starts to slow down. The noise quiets. You stop rushing to prove, defend, or compete. You find strength in stillness. That's because peace is the foundation of purpose. You can't hear divine direction in a noisy heart. You can't move with wisdom when you're constantly reacting to the world's opinions. So guard your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Don't let anyone rent space in your mind who doesn't help you grow. The validation you seek from others is temporary, but the peace that comes from self-respect lasts forever. When you protect your peace, you protect your power. And that's a trade worth keeping. Every reaction is a choice, and every choice shapes who you become. The truth is, no one controls your emotions without your permission. People may provoke you, disappoint you, or misunderstand you, but how you respond is entirely your responsibility. Life will constantly test your peace, but those tests are opportunities to practice mastery. Every moment you choose calm over chaos, patience over pride, and grace over anger, you're building the kind of character that can't be shaken by circumstance. Your reactions are silent builders of your identity. They reveal what you've learned, what you value, and how much power you truly hold. It's easy to believe emotions happen to you, but in reality, they happen through you. What comes out of you in a moment of pressure is what's been cultivated in private. That's why awareness is so important. You can't control everything that happens, but you can control what happens next. Between stimulus and response, there's always a pause, and in that pause lies your freedom. That pause is where wisdom lies. It's where you decide if you'll let the situation define you or refine you. Every reaction carries a consequence. When you react impulsively, you often create chaos that lasts longer than the moment that triggered it. But when you respond with clarity, you create peace that outlives the storm. The power isn't in the event, it's in your response to it. You can't always choose what life gives you, but you can always choose how you show up in it. That's where true control is found, not in controlling people or outcomes, but in mastering your own energy. When you realize that every reaction is shaping your future, you stop wasting them on things that don't matter. You start responding from wisdom instead of wounds. You begin to understand that silence can be more powerful than 1,000 arguments, and patience can achieve more than pressure ever will. Your reaction is your reflection. It shows the level of peace you've built within. So choose carefully. Choose to respond from purpose, not pain. Choose to act from understanding, not ego, because with every reaction, you're either reinforcing your peace or eroding it. You're either becoming stronger or surrendering your power. The choice, every single time, is yours. When you master detachment, you stop chasing comfort and start creating clarity. Most people spend their lives trying to control outcomes, people, and perceptions, hoping that stability will bring them peace. But real peace doesn't come from controlling your surroundings. It comes from understanding yourself within them. Detachment is what frees you from the endless chase of trying to make everything feel right. It's what allows you to see situations for what they are, not what you wish they would be. When you're detached, you no longer cling to comfort, you seek truth. You stop trying to make life easier and start trying to make it clearer. Chasing comfort often leads to compromise. You settle for what feels safe rather than what's aligned. You avoid confrontation, you fear change, and you hold on to things that no longer serve your growth. Detachment changes that. It teaches you that letting go isn't losing, it's making space. It's the courage to walk away from what feels familiar but no longer fits your purpose. When you let go of the need for constant comfort, you gain something far greater perspective. And from perspective comes clarity, the kind that allows you to see beyond emotion, beyond fear, beyond ego. Clarity doesn't always feel comfortable. Sometimes it means facing truths you've been avoiding. Sometimes it means acknowledging that the person, habit, or environment you've been holding on to is actually holding you back. But when you embrace detachment, you no longer resist that awareness, you welcome it. You stop needing things to go your way to feel at peace. You realize that peace doesn't depend on control, it depends on surrender. Detachment doesn't make you cold, it makes you conscious. You can love without losing yourself, give without expecting, and care without clinging. That's freedom, the kind of freedom that only comes when your sense of self is no longer tied to external comfort. You begin to move through life with clarity and purpose, unshaken by uncertainty. You understand that not everything meant for you will come easily, and not everything easy is meant for you. When you master detachment, you stop asking, how can I make this easier? And start asking, what is this teaching me? Because clarity will always guide you further than comfort ever could. Peace is not found by controlling the world. It's found by mastering yourself. The journey to being unbothered isn't about becoming numb or distant. It's about becoming powerful in silence, confident in stillness, and secure in purpose. It's about realizing that not every opinion deserves your energy, not every storm requires your reaction, and not every loss is meant to be chased. The real victory is when you can stand in the middle of life's noise and still hear your own voice clearly. When you train yourself to be unbothered, you rise above the pull of distraction and step into the realm of divine composure. You stop living for validation and start living from conviction. You stop reacting to life and start responding with wisdom. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. That's not apathy, it's awareness. You're not harder, you're holier. You're not distant, you're disciplined. There will always be chaos, misunderstanding, and noise, but the one who's anchored in peace walks through all of it untouched. Protect your stillness, guard your mind, honor your boundaries, because the moment you stop letting the world dictate your emotions, you become the one thing it can't control, steady. And in that steadiness lies your greatest power. Train yourself to be unbothered, not because the world will get quieter, but because your spirit will get stronger. Let your peace speak louder than your reactions. Let your calm become your authority. Because when your soul is still, no storm can move you. And that's where true strength lies.